All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. With all the Trump talk about, Lewandowski grabbing the arm and now with the abortion and then, Trump said this, he said that, enough. One of the things also that it depends what day it is. But a couple of days ago, what was the news? It was the news about, enhanced interrogation, Trump saying we should go beyond torture, et cetera, beyond waterboarding, I should say. And we had a chance to sit down with my friend John Yoo, law professor at University of Berkeley, California. He drafted the enhanced interrogation memos under George W. Bush, former deputy assistant AG at the DOJ. And first we watched a Donald Trump soundbite, and then he weighed in on all of this. So watch.
Can you imagine these people, these animals over in the Middle East that chop off heads, sitting around talking and seeing that we're having a hard problem with waterboarding? We should go for waterboarding, and we should go tougher than waterboarding.
I know you've taken issue with what Donald Trump has said on waterboarding and torture and going further. Why?
First, I think Mr. Trump is raising these issues for the wrong reasons. As you can tell from the clip that you just played, he compares what we should do with what our enemies should do. It sounds like for the purposes of revenge or punishment. That's not the reasons why the Bush administration thought about and had to use waterboarding for the very top al-Qaeda leaders that we captured in the months after 9/11. The purpose is to get intelligence without violating the law in a situation where you need the information immediately. As you can tell, that seems to be the furthest thing from Mr. Trump's mind. And I don't think that using enhanced interrogation is justified for the reasons that he's given as a way of punishing or getting revenge on our enemies.
Well, let me play devil's advocate here, and let me say maybe if Trump were sitting here, maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he's saying, look, of course we would waterboard to get the information, Mr. Yoo. That's what I'm talking about. But I'm responding to those like the president and our policy today, which says, oh, no, we can't do that. It's not who we are. When, in fact, look at the rules our enemy play by. There are no rules. They chop off heads. They put people in cages, drown them, blah, blah, blah. That's why I bring that up. But, of course, the ultimate purpose, as was when you okayed waterboarding back after 9/11, is to get the information. I'm just bringing all up what the enemy does and saying we need to waterboard, not as revenge, but to say it would be okay because they're playing without rules and we need the information.
Well, Steve, if your brain were in Trump's body, I might agree with him. Because that's something I think is much closer to the way we thought about things in the administration, and I think the way an American leader should think about it. If it's about getting information, then I think waterboarding is really the limit. It's the closest thing to the line of falling across the line of torture that we could go.
This character in France, the one that they caught, and subsequently after the capture, it appears that the Brussels cells speeded up their attack. They didn't get much out of him, and now he wants to. He decided not to fight extradition. He wants to go back to Paris. He wants to tell his story. I mean, is this something that France should allow if he does go back there? Should they, I don't know, put him on trial in public and let him speak his piece?
Look, what happened in Brussels is just an example of the whole failure of not just the European approach to terrorism, but the Obama administration approach. You could say the Obama administration bought all of the criticisms that the Europeans threw over at us during the years after 9/11, that we were taking too much of a military approach, that we were not respecting the criminal procedural rights of these terrorists, and look where it's gotten them. As you said, not just that the Belgian authorities had one of the ringleaders of these attacks in their hands for several days before the Brussels attacks, but they didn't get the information out of him. I would think he knew about it. They also have these crazy rules in Europe where, for example, in Brussels, you couldn't search someone's house who was suspected of terrorism at nighttime. They only had to be done during daylight hours.
There are many analysts who say Europe is just about lost when it comes to Muslim enclaves and Muslims in that country and plotting terrorist plots and them harboring their own criminal. How do we not become Europe?
I worry that we are. You see what happened in San Bernardino. You're starting to see cracks in our homeland defense, I think, because for the last 7, 8 years we have thought the way the Europeans have. That's why this election, I think, in November is so critically important, because I think you need to have leadership in the country that are going to try to not just contain or live with ISIS or Al-Qaeda or terrorism as if it were falls in the bathtub. I think that's what President Obama said, and approaches a military problem, which means going after and taking the fight to the enemy there. That's what the Bush administration did, and I think that has a lot to do with why there were no successful attacks on the homeland in the months and years after 9/11.
Yep, couldn't agree more. John, thank you so much, sir. Always a great pleasure to talk to you.
Steve, my pleasure.